The sun slipped behind the trees, and everything changed. The jungle was no longer green and alive. It became a living shadow. That first night alone, I realized no fire, no tool, and no plan can prepare your heart for what the forest truly is when it's just you and the wild. I wasn't ready, not for the sounds, not for the silence, and certainly not for what waited in the dark. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment, readying my mind for the solitude, studying survival techniques. Yet nothing could have prepared me for the raw, untamed reality that smacked me in the face the moment the sun dipped below the horizon. It was as if the forest itself held its breath, savoring the moment it went from twilight to total darkness in an instant. As the light faded, so did the colors. The deep greens turned to shades of gray, the vibrant flowers to ominous silhouettes. The jungle, once a place of warmth and life, became a cold, dark void. It was like stepping into a different world, one where the rules of the day no longer applied, where the familiar sounds of birds and insects were replaced by an unsettling hush. Alone in this vast wilderness, I felt a knot of fear tighten in my chest. My heartbeat echoed in my ears, loud and frantic. I was acutely aware of every creak of a twig, every rustle of leaves, convinced each sound was a predator testing, waiting to pounce. It was as though the jungle itself was holding its breath, watching me, waiting for me to break. But I couldn't let it win, so I forced myself to take a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. But the harder I tried, the more panicked I became. Then I spotted some dry leaves and crooked branches near me. Acting on instinct, I started building a small shelter. It wasn't much, but it gave me a sense of security, a feeling of having done something, of being in control. It took a while, but eventually the panic subsided, leaving behind a bone-deep fear that clung to me like a second skin. As the hours passed, I huddled in my makeshift shelter, listening to the symphony of the night. Each snap of a twig, each hoot of an owl sent shivers down my spine. The darkness was oppressive, pressing in on me from all sides, making me feel trapped, vulnerable. In the suffocating darkness, my mind played tricks on me. Every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps. Every screech of a bird like a scream. Fear twisted my thoughts, turning the mundane into monsters. My rational mind knew it was just the forest being the forest, but my heart couldn't be convinced. I thought about my cozy bed back home, the warm laughter of friends and family, the simple luxury of a life lived in the light. For a moment I considered giving up, calling out for help, admitting that I was scared. I was unprepared. As quickly as those thoughts came, they were gone. I was in this alone, and I had to get through it alone. There was no one coming to save me. And so I fought, not against the forest, but against the rising tide of fear within me. I fought to keep calm, to keep still, to keep believing that I could make it through the night. But it was a losing battle. I was a city boy, pretending to be a woodsman, and the longer the night wore on, the more my facade crumbled. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard a sound that sent a jolt of fear through me. It was a soft padding sound, like footsteps, but not quite. It was as though someone or something was walking on damp leaves, slowly approaching me. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The sound stopped right outside my shelter. Then I heard another sound, a low growl, guttural and menacing. My heart pounded against my ribs, threatening to burst out of my chest. Was it a wild animal, hungry predator drawn to my scent? I didn't dare move, didn't dare make a sound. I just lay there, paralyzed with fear, listening intently. Outside the shelter, the growl came again, closer this time, followed by a heavy panting. Whatever it was circling my shelter, sniffing at it, testing me. Time seemed to stand still, each second ticking by like an eternity. I closed my eyes, willing the nightmare to end. And then suddenly it was gone. The growling, the padding footsteps, the menacing presence outside my shelter vanished into the darkness. I lay there for what felt like forever, too afraid to open my eyes, too afraid to move. But slowly, very slowly, my fear began to subside. I forced myself to take a deep breath, then another. The jungle around me, which had been a menacing presence moments before, now seemed just like the jungle, full of sounds and noises. Yes, but also full of life, of growth, of beauty. The darkness, which had felt suffocating and scary, now seemed like a comforting blanket, a soothing lullaby. As the first rays of sunlight peeked through the canopy, chasing away the darkness, I emerged from my shelter, shaky but whole. I looked around me at the lush greenery, at the towering trees, at the chirping birds, and the flitting butterflies, and I felt a surge of gratitude. I had made it through the night. I had survived my first night alone in the jungle. But the victory was bittersweet. I had won a battle, yes, but I knew this was just the beginning. I had many more nights ahead of me, many more challenges to face. But as I stood there, bathed in the golden light of dawn, I knew I was ready. I was ready because I had faced my fear, and I had come out stronger on the other side. The jungle had tested me, pushed me to my limits, but it had also taught me something about myself, something about resilience, about the strength of the human spirit. I realized that fear doesn't always have to be bad. Sometimes it can be a catalyst, pushing us to become better, braver, more open-minded versions of ourselves. As I continued my journey into the heart of the jungle, I carried this newfound wisdom with me.
I walked with a lighter step, a clearer vision.
I was still afraid, yes, but I was also excited, eager to learn what the jungle had in store for me next. And as the sun slipped behind the trees again, casting long shadows on the forest floor, I knew I wouldn't be afraid. I had faced the darkness, and I had found a new strength within myself. I was ready for whatever the night might bring. After my first night alone in the jungle, I emerged forever changed. The experience had been a crucible, testing my limits and forcing me to confront my deepest fears. But it was also a blessing in disguise, opening my eyes to a world of wonder and beauty that I had never seen before. The days that followed were filled with challenges, with moments of fear and uncertainty. But there were also moments of joy, of triumph, of connection with the natural world around me. Each day brought new discoveries, new lessons, new strength, and as the weeks passed, I found myself becoming more in tune with the rhythm of the jungle, more attuned to the whispers of the wind, the songs of the birds, the rustle of the leaves. I learned to read the signs, to understand the language of the forest, and in doing so, I discovered a part of myself that I never knew existed, a part that was wild and free and unafraid. But as my time in the jungle drew to a close and I prepared to return to the world I had left behind, I knew that I would never be the same again. The jungle had taught me that fear is just a shadow, that courage is the light that drives it away. And in the process, it had shown me that I am capable of so much more than I ever believed possible. If you found this story intriguing, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement means the world to me. Thank you for joining me on this journey.